computer. Oh, I've never heard that before. There's a ghost in my machine. That's a little scary. The last time when Jenny and Daniel moderated for us, I totally did not record the intro bio reading. So I'm going to do a really quick truncated introduction.
Yeah, just take the headline.
So Daniel is a pastor, blogger, and avid reader who has served as an editor for several published works with almost 2 decades of experience serving in the ministry field. Daniel has developed a passion to engage with the community around him, whether it be on the street, on the job, or within healthcare settings. Jenny is a licensed social worker, blogger, author, and photographer with over 2 decades of experience in the social services field. Jenny has established an extensive reservoir of expertise specializing in crisis intervention, health systems, and end-of-life care. Together, Daniel and Jenny host a newly launched podcast called And That's the Hashtag Truth. Everyone has a story, but not everyone gets to tell it. Tune in to hear real stories, raw and unchanged. And with that, welcome and thank you both for moderating tonight.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having us. We're glad you had us back after our intense questions last time. Please help us out this time. So we've been reading in Snow in Vietnam for anybody who's just tuning in, and we are currently on chapters 21 through 24. And starting right out with chapter 24 on page 124, Snow visits Kwong one last time, and he hands her rhino horns to sell on the black market. The stakes are higher than what she has been doing and selling, and the money would be more than enough to leave her family in a good financial position. Why do you think Snow didn't do one last run? And what do you think that says about her character?
Crickets.
I mean, I have a thought, but I don't want to be the,
What's your thought? Go for it.
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this isn't, I don't know for sure, but here's a maybe, because I think these things are playing into what's happening. I'm just trying to think of what she's gone through and what she's going through. Maybe she's just at her wit's end. Maybe she's realizing the time is getting close to get out. And taking those rhino horns, which are, I think Snow said they're illegal. And she was worried about breaking the law again, which means she's worried about being caught again, which means never leaving. I think that played into it. How can I take this huge risk? And I'm coming up on the time where, you know what? I just need to get out of here. That's where my thoughts were. They might not be on, so that's why it's a discussion, I guess.
Well, and I think too, even with the other things that she'd been doing, it's not like, she was a teacher. It's not like these are things she ever thought, this is what I'm going to do, when I'm living my life and trying to take care of my daughter. I don't think she particularly cared for having to do any of the, underground sort of activity that she had to do. And this was just one more thing that, yes, could she have had to do it? Could it have done this or that? But like Dan said, enough's enough at some point, and rubber's got to meet the road, and you got to move forward and go.
Yeah, she's been lucky up to that point, right? And it's like, count your blessings, and because
I think kind of what you guys were saying, she kind of sees the writing on the wall. If she's, she sees any kind of window she thinks she can get through, I think she sees the opportunity and is afraid that she might not get another opportunity to make that kind of money and all that jazz. So it's her way out.
Yeah, I also think, that she loves animals. This is a woman who defended a chicken, for Christ's sakes. And so she'll sell opium and cigarettes and, Bayer medicine, but I don't think she would go to that extent where she would sell rhinoceros, horns, and
Oh,
maybe.
No, that makes a lot of sense. We all have things that they're
true.
standards of stuff we don't want to do for different reasons.
Right. You gotta
And
draw the line somewhere.
unless I'm wrong, I think this happens after her house is like Tam is gone, long gone, a long time ago. Hi, I believe, is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Her house, they've taken all of the stuff basically. So including her chicken, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's probably fresh in her mind to go along with what you were saying.
Yeah. It's a great question.
Hi, Mary. Just saw you join.
Hi, everybody.
Nice
Hi.
to see you all.
We were just
Nice to see
asking
you
about Snow, how she decided to not sell the rhino horns that were offered to her as a last run, and kind of digesting a little bit about why she wouldn't take that on. I didn't know if you had any thoughts that you wanted to contribute before we moved on.
I think maybe she just didn't want to get involved because maybe getting caught, and she was so close to leaving that she didn't want to take that risk.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was our consensus too.
But really quickly, also, even though she didn't want to, it's kind of cool that she has friends that would give her stuff like that to help her out to that level. Knowing that she wants to leave and needs to leave, and they have something like hardcore that would make her a ton of money. It's cool that she had people like that was willing to
True.
do that, even though she didn't want to take that step.
Echo's a great resource for her. But he also works for the mob, so he's got his own ulterior motives for money. He's taking all the risk.
I know. I was gonna say sometimes
Her friends
it's-
that are going to help her out.
I mean,
Friends
sometimes
of convenience.
it's good to have friends in low places, but that has its consequences.
Yep, absolutely.
And a lot of different things are going on as it's getting crunch time for her to leave. And it seems like things just keep piling up, and all these things are coming from different angles. In chapter 21, one of those things that happen is we see a very different side of Min Huang. Snow goes to visit him and asks for some dried goods, and she finds him drunk. And in that moment, he assaults her. How did you guys feel, and what were your thoughts on his change in behavior toward her? Do you think it was like his true nature coming out, or was there some reason maybe behind his actions? Like, what are your thoughts on that scene? Were you surprised?
Surprised and disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think humans are multifaceted and interesting, right? And so multidimensional, I guess. And sometimes situations play into our characters and our actions. I kind of understood why he did what he did, because here's a man who's been fighting for his country, his war, for so long. He's lost his brother, he's lost his mother, he's just alone and upset. And there's this beautiful woman who keeps asking, gimme, gimme, gimme. And he's to the breaking point where it's like, enough already. Show me some gratitude, show me that you care, that this is not just you using me. Like, I want to be a part of society again, and I want to have a meaningful life. I'm trying to help you, but all you do is ask for more. But on the flip side is like, I'm pretty darn pissed off at this character for doing what he did, feeling like he was entitled, or that she owed him something. So anyway, it's complicated.
Now, when you were writing that scene, because I know you said that you're a pantser, so like as you're writing, was there something going on for you that kind of changed that role for him? Like what led you down that path to say?
Well, you always have to have an antagonist, and the antagonist doesn't always have to be a person. It could be the war itself. It could be the South China Sea. It could be the pirates. But when I started writing about Min Huang, I already knew in my mind that he was going to play the bad guy, simply because he fought on the other side of the war, for no other reason, really. And so it's one of those ups and downs where you don't want to get too complacent, and you want to kind of keep the readers engaged and guessing. And so I threw that scene in there to give you a little bit of a reaction, I guess, to that character. And this is where things are now really going to get hard for Snow. It's saying goodbye to Saigon and everything that she has been hustling for or with. And now she's going to go into the open seas, and she's going to be dealing with a lot more. So kind of the little tip of the iceberg.
I think I kind of felt it coming from him from the beginning. It was like, how far is she going to be able to push him before he goes off? And so I kind of always knew that was kind of in him, but then he would always surprise me by helping her, and what you expected his behavior to be, which would have been, no, I'm for my country, or whatever. He wouldn't do that. He would soften up and help her. And that always surprised me, but I just kind of knew that there was like a boiling point coming.
Yeah, and it's also a good push to really leave, right? Because now she doesn't have anything really that's holding her back. So yeah, there's no reason to continue doing this for who knows how long. I mean, at some point she's got to pull the trigger and just go for it.
Yeah.
And you as the reader are probably like, okay, enough already. She's every single time she's getting thwarted with one reason or another, whether it be a death in the family or, the communists come in and takes everything. I mean, there's always something that stops her. So it's like, okay, let's go.
Yet there's always something that kind of keeps her going too, which, speaks into that really well.
Yeah.
Well, also what I thought about that, again, this is a comment, but probably kind of a question. Because you said people are multifaceted and things are, it's complicated. Things aren't cut and dry. We might think of Min Huang or anyone else who's a communist for that matter as, well, he's a communist. But they're also a person. And no matter what he may have been as a communist soldier, he was also a person. So we all have times in life where we've given ourselves maybe to an ideal or a group or whatever, and things disappoint us. And things bring us to points in life where we don't want to be here, or how did I get here? And like he said, he said to her in that scene, he yelled at her, why does everyone leave me? Because even though he was some, communist, and I say that in quotes because that's just a label, but this scene opens up his own heart and he's saying, why does everyone leave me? He's grieving for his mother. He's grieving for his brother, but do we know what else he's grieving for? What else he feels like he's lost, even though he's the bad guy in a sense? Like, what do you think about that, Amy? You're the mastermind.
I'm going to take my dad as an example, right? He fought for the South. He fought for the Viet Minh also. And inherently, he's a good person. but he's done some horrible things. And I think that's just part of war and survival. And, you know, you play the game, you got to do what you got to do. For Min Wang, you know, he lost his dad too. And when you are seen as one way only, that gets tiring. You know, you want to break that cycle and you want to change people's perceptions of you. But sometimes if you're not given that opportunity, you just say, oh, hell, you know, F it, I'm going to be that person that they think I am, and go down that path because it's the path of least resistance. So that's kind of my thought on Min Wang. And, you know, it's one of those things where you just don't know if you're good or you're bad because the situation kind of changes. You know, my mom, she's a good person, but to do the things that she did, a lot of people would say, oh my gosh, she was a terrible person. How could she go underground and sell in the black market as a single mother? She should be focusing on, you know, at home with her daughter or whatever, and not going out in the streets trying to peddle. So there's always two different sides, you know, to everything. Bad people are capable of good things, good deeds, and you know, we all have our limitations, I guess, or what we stand for. Someone have anything else to add?
I think it makes it more interesting, and I like that little twist. My screen keeps kind of freezing up, so that's why I'm popping in and out. I can hear you guys, but this helps. So, but I like the fact that you give texture to it, and you give for everybody. Everybody is. So it shows that good side of that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So needy right now.
Yeah, I think he has something he wants to share.
I
Oh my gosh, that cat's bigger than you are.
That is a huge cat.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's huge. That's purple.
So in chapter 22, there is a new authoritative air about Snow, and I think we all kind of feel it when you're reading. We can sense the difference about her. There's authoritative—'s a good word. There's like an immediacy to what she's doing. There's something new behind it. She orders her family to rest and put Sister Six in tree to work to catch lizards, birds, frogs for food. What do you suppose made her take the reins and become the boss? That wasn't always her role in the family.
Survival.
Mm-hmm.
Just surviving. Somebody needed to organize.
I think also she had just gotten back from Saigon, you know, dealing with Min Huang and Gung. She had also was riding in the back of the beer truck for 8 hours or whatever it was, and had to pee really bad. You know, so she's just mad and irritated and just confused, and all these emotions, I think, is another reason why. But you know, Sister Six is kind of not herself because she lost Thumb, and father, you know, is not there, and so and Brother Seven, I just feel like she had to step up because no one else was. So everyone else was dealing with their own issues.
Mm-hmm.
But that was actually kind of a fun scene to write because the part where Snow throws a bucket at Sister Six and she just lets it fall to the ground, like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? Who made you boss?
Yeah, that was kind of her role.
Yeah, right?
Boss.
Yeah.
It seems like a very long time.
Yeah, they kind of switched there.
Yeah, I think sometimes we rise to the occasion, you know, and Tree is the resourceful one. But you find in this scenario, Snow's, I was like, okay, I think she's learned a few things from her nephew, right? Like, okay, it's gonna rain, we're gonna go out and we're gonna try to catch some frogs and what have you.
It seemed to me like a natural progression of her character, because since she's getting ready to leave and the time is almost upon her, it just seemed like it was natural for her to start taking on that role, because that's what she's going to have to do to continue to survive as things progress and situations get worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she definitely, you know, as she's taking on that role, did any of y'all feel empowered along with her?
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, go get him. You know, it's like she stepped into her element a bit. Like this was something that, you know, she was destined to do all along. And whether she always knew it or knew it from a certain point or just wasn't ready, there was this pivotal moment where it was, she's ready, she's prepared, she is still in no way, shape, or form understanding what's still going to come her way. But no matter what that is, there's this air of she can handle it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, and one of the things that we talked about last time, you know, the different things like betting on the fish fights and different things like that, kind of stepping forward in an, you know, not really, you know, or some, you know, girls didn't really do some of those things. I could really see how those parts to the story, it's like, yeah, that's getting her ready. She's going to be stepping up and doing so many big things in these chapters and upcoming, where she's pretty much directing the whole thing, you know, going forward, stepping out and telling, you know, taking control of different situations for their whole group. So
Yeah.
I think that's part of nature versus nurture too. You know, sometimes inherently we are lively and spirited, Dee. You know, sometimes we're inherently like that, but
yeah,
we choose to take a different role because that's what society expects from us or our family expects from us, but it's still there burning. And when we have to, we draw upon that, I guess, to do what we have to do and be prepared, you know, or perish.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also one thing I thought was, well, I definitely thought on the emotional side, this just happened with Min Huang, and she was just in the back of a beer truck for 8 hours. So you're emotionally revved up. And also things happen in life, which probably happened in her life, where she realized it's go time. It's up to me now. Min Huang's out of the picture. I'm not going to sell more things in the black market. Like, this is it. So, you know, it's time to do it. It's time to get things done. So y'all got to do this.
And with that as well, too, one of the things that I really like that you wove into the story and into the characters is that in life, you know, we have a lot of good things that happen. We have a lot of bad things that happen. But from each of those things, whether we want to or not, we take away something and we learn from it, and we use that knowledge to help us in future circumstances. And so even like with Min Wang, you know, she learned that skill of, no, you have to prepare dinner this way. You have to open this coconut, even if it's, you know, painful and is bruising your legs up. And, you know, being in those uncomfortable situations on the rides back home and always kind of having to look over your shoulder, not skills you'd want to have, but skills that helped protect her. And so I really like how you wove those through the stories, because it's very much how things work in life in general.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, the ugly.
Throw in the ugly.
Exactly. Anything else? Any other thoughts that anybody has?
I think the whole coconut thing kind of prepared her for all of this. I think it kind of gave her the opportunity to realize that she's stronger than she thought she was, and that she can handle this moving forward. And I think, you know, the 8-hour ride and, you know, choosing not to sell that stuff and doing whatever she did, I think that whole coconut scene was the door opening and her realizing that she can do more than what she has been placing about going forward.
That's a great scene too, I think, because she could choose to be the damsel in distress, right? Or she can be the stubborn, persevering person, right? And it's which way is she gonna go? So thank goodness she went the persevering route.
Yeah.
And the interesting part about that too, or the irony, I guess, depending on how you want to put it, is Min Huang is the one who taught her how to open the coconut because he wanted her to be strong. And then he's in that same person who attacks her, but she's strong enough to get away. And well, I don't really know what happened to him in that scene. She doesn't look back. So, is that
It didn't sound good for him.
It didn't sound good.
I don't know what happened to Min Huang. All I know is there was a building that exploded and she ran out and there were ashes, you know, that were falling, and she didn't look back because she was afraid to see him running, if he was running after her. We'll never know, right? But she hit him pretty hard. I don't know. I've never been hit in the balls before, so you tell me. Do you just crumble to the ground and you're immobilized for a while?
That coupled with the neck wound.
Yeah.
But maybe that was another teaching point for her too, you know, that she can fend off somebody. You know, she's going into a whole new world by herself, and she's going to have to learn how to take care of herself. So that kind of might have been a little bit of a blessing in disguise, you know, that he did do that to her too.
Yeah. And you know, one more thing that I just thought of, you know, as we dissect your characters, let's put them under the microscope, but is, you know, Mrs. Tran, we all loved her character. She was one of those characters that taught Snow how to do things and how to stand on her own 2 feet. And Min Huang was her son. And so naturally, it would not be out of the ordinary for him to have some of the same qualities of his mom in him. But very, very, so anybody who hasn't read Snow in Vietnam yet, just so that you know, these characters are beyond developed. We could literally put them on a therapeutic couch and question them all day.
Oh my God, that would be hilarious.
Can't wait for the movie.
Who's gonna play who?
In chapter 23, a lot's happening there as well. And Snow gets a letter from Hai. Is that how I pronounce his name?
Yeah, Hai is what the, yeah.
Yep, from prison. And the Vietnamese army has defeated the Khmer Rouge. And she sells her necklace and her wedding ring. And she finally has enough money to secure her seats on a boat out of Vietnam. What thoughts or fears ran through your mind when you were reading that part of the book?
I hope she doesn't get distracted again. That was my first thing. This is what, the 3rd time?
It's like Pavlovian, you know, training. It's like, oh my gosh.
Don't lose the money. Don't get distracted. Go straight.
Did you guys get scared at the part where the officer stopped her in the market because there was a beggar? Do you remember that scene where there was a beggar and she ended up buying dried fish and she accidentally dropped that fish for him? And then one of the officers was like, stop, you know, and he checks her fingernails. Believe it or not, you know, that actually happened to someone where anything that was remotely part of the bourgeois Western culture that the US had brought into Vietnam was completely shut down by the government. So you couldn't wear any Western outfits. You couldn't listen to any Western music. You know, you certainly couldn't do your hairstyle a certain way or have fingernails painted or anything that resembled that kind of society. So anyways, I just was wondering if anybody had any reactions to that, or if you thought, you know, oh my God, here we go again. She's going to get arrested or something.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because at that point in the story, I felt fear a lot for her, but at that point, I think that shifted to a different feeling of, I was worried for her, and that I didn't want her to experience any more hardship and more things coming her way. And kind of at that point, it was like any new thing that happened was like, oh gosh, you know, my heart, this, it hurt, you know, to kind of see what she would go through. But at that point, I was like, I feel bad that she has to go through things, but I know she's going to do it. Like, she's going to do this. I don't know how she's going to get out of this, but she's going to. And so at that point in the story, as a reader, and I don't know how that was for anybody else, but I was like on board. Okay, I don't know how you're going to pull this off, but I'm ready to see what you tell this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
When I read that point, when the officer stopped her, I thought, oh no, is he going to arrest her? And then he cut off her fingernails, and I was wondering, is that common over there that they do that? Or is that just because she got the dry fish and dropped one in front of the bagger?
Yeah, it's not common, but it does happen, where they'll stop you just for any reason. You know, even if it's just they don't like what you're wearing or what have you, or if you're carrying a book, they have every right to question what book it is that you're reading. So it could be anything as stupid as your fingernails. That's what's crazy about it, you know. And to live under that thumb, that's why so many boat people left their country, or just not even boat people, but a lot of the Vietnamese refugees flocked to the oceans and to the air, and you know, wherever they can go to get out of there.
And as she's getting ready to leave, and everybody knows at this point, this is it. Like, she's going to be getting on a boat. She's ready. She's going. Here we are. What did you think that her journey out to sea would entail? You know, as you're reading that point, did you think, finally, she is going to be safe? Did you think something bad was going to happen? Like, what was going through your mind in, you know, what, as she's getting ready to head out on a boat? Or
Well, I really expected that I don't know why, but I thought the biggest challenge would be the sea, you know, a boat, lots of people and storms or whatever. I wasn't expecting all of everything they faced. You know, that was just like a miracle getting through.
Did
I
anybody know
didn't
anything about boat people prior to reading Snow in Vietnam?
I did not. No,
Yeah.
It was pictures. I've seen some pictures. That's all.
Yeah, we don't learn about that really in media or in school or anything like that. And it was, I mean, it's such a traumatic thing that it's taken this long for this generation, my generation, to be able to write about it. You know, obviously our parents couldn't write about it. They didn't have the language skills or the desire because of the trauma. So only now are we unearthing the stories of the boat people and the refugees that left after the war, because of generations like mine, who are actually not going into the medical fields or the, you know, law fields. Like all of our parents, you know, they wanted us to go to become doctors and lawyers and stuff like that, engineers. But now, you know, we're going more into the artistic fields, and we're using our skills to write books, to produce films, to write music, to sing, you know, that kind of thing. And those stories are now coming out through that kind of media platform.
Ed, I have a question on when she was they were told her that when she come to the boat that night, she was to have red and green colors on before she got on the boat. My question is, how many is on that boat and how big is the boat to haul the people?
So generally speaking, the boats are always too small. We, with the boat people, you would crowd as many as you can onto the boat, and a vessel that would, normally hold 10 would hold 5 times that much, because everybody's scrambling to get on there. And these boards or these boats vary in different sizes. Our particular boat had 43 people on a shrimp trawler that probably could only fit maybe a dozen people. So we were really packed in there. Every nook and cranny and corner, we were in there. And she was wearing those colors because they were leaving on New Year's Day, Lunar New Year. And so it's a time of celebration and festivities. And if, that's when people want to look their best, whatever their best may be. And so she was encouraged to wear those colors to kind of blend in that way. Had she left earlier, she would have probably been told to wear really poor garb and brown earth tones, whatever, to blend into the environment.
Amy, I had experience working with some families that were refugees from Vietnam that escaped by boat. And I found that they're very secretive. The ones that did escape were really afraid to talk about it and about what happened because of thinking they may have repercussions in the future from the communists in Vietnam. So they were very secretive. They would write, if they wrote articles in magazines or books, they would use pseudonyms where no one could identify them. And some had similar experiences to what your mom had as well.
There's a lot of paranoia there for sure. And we all have it. We all have the same stories, and yet we don't, right? There's so many of us that left with similar themes, I guess, but different individual experiences.
Yeah, and I think that's why now the children of some of these people that have left are being able to share their parents' stories without fear of things happening to them. And they're able to write about what happened.
And we're getting to that age where we're curious about our heritage and our history, and our family is getting older. So we want to ask those questions while we can, if they're willing to share it. I'm still trying to get my dad to talk about it, but he won't. And so part of me is like, that's going to be lost almost forever. So when I do write his story, it's going to be really bare bones his story, and the rest is going to be fillers and imagination stuff. But it's unfortunate, that I don't get to understand fully what happened with my dad.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I shared with you, I was watching TV and there was another story similar to Amy's, and it was a girl that was a musician, and it was another generation, and her family had fled. So it was really, really, I was like, oh my God, I like text Amy, are you watching this? Here, check this out, because this is so much like your story. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it's, and I get that too, because people will hear my podcast interview on different platforms, like, the Vietnamese Boat People podcast or whatever, and they'll reach out to me on Instagram and say, oh my God, my story is so similar to yours. And then we end up talking about each other's stories and our parents and, how we deal with mental health and, and all this other stuff. And it's just crazy how our stories are so similar. But nobody talks about it, so you feel alone. So I'm glad that people are now starting to open up some more.
Yeah.
Hi, Jill. First time attendee here.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so sorry to jump in so late.
That's
Oh,
okay.
It's okay, you're here.
Fine. Yes, we're glad to have you. We're just actually jumping into chapter 24. And here, Snow, Tree, and Dolly are on their way to the canal with Duke, and they witness a Lunar New Year celebration and see a pond of lotus blossoms. She sees these as a sign of good luck. She's become a more hardened woman, more realistic in how she sees life. But in this chapter, we see a glimpse of her old self, that dreamer filled with hope. We're now two-thirds of the way through the book. In what ways have we seen Snow, Tree, and the others change from chapter 1 in 1973 to chapter 24 in 1979? Let's start with Snow. And we talked a little bit about how some of her strength has changed as she's had to face more things and take on more responsibilities and differences, different roles in her family. Are there other things that you notice about her that's changed, just besides becoming more assertive?
More clever.
More clever,
Yeah.
more domesticated.
Yeah, more domesticated, but she came up with some, pretty good ideas going through the process on, how to get things and how to ask for things. And, just in general, her thinking level changed. It was almost like she grew up before our eyes, and how to learn how to be a stronger person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think her role as a mother changed over the few years from when Dolly was born to when they were leaving on that sick low?
Sort of. I mean, it's hard to tell because we only hear a little bit at a time, about her with the baby a little bit at a time. So, but I think her main focus was for her child, and that was always the main focus. But I think it was just she had to come up with different clever ideas, especially when she kept messing up her escapes to make sure that everything was in a row and it was the right time, and all of that. But as a mother, I think she loved her child regardless, same level of love throughout, if not more, because you pass that milestone of getting to be 1 year,
Yeah.
and that was huge.
It felt like one consistent things, like from start to finish, was the mother's love for a child and doing everything she could. That was kind of the focus right from the get-go, along with her love for Sam and her love for her family, but her love for her daughter and keeping her alive and survival. Love was a very constant theme in the book.
I feel like in the beginning, Snow was a little bit out of it, like dazed when it comes to motherhood, because she had her family around to kind of tend to Dolly. Because we've seen Dolly fall several times, right? And she's just but without her husband in the picture, and without Hai in the picture, and even Thumb in the picture, right? She really had to also again step it up, and now she is the care provider, sole provider for Dolly.
And what about for Tree? I mean, in a sense, we kind of got to watch him grow up a little bit in the story. How did you see his character change from 1973 to 1979? That's 6 years. That's quite a bit for a young lad.
I personally didn't see him change that much. you know, he got older, but he was still the resourceful, more mature kid. We don't see him really change until the refugee camps, but I think he has been one of the more consistent characters so far. That's my perspective.
Mhm.
He took on more responsibility.
It's a lot for his shoulders. You know, I mean, even to escort his aunt and his cousin to another country or another city, right, to get her settled in. As I mean, that would mean that he would have to travel back home by himself after he settles Snow and Ollie into another city to take up the teaching job. But he took that responsibility on his shoulders. After that, he of course realized that they were leaving the country. But yeah.
So, you know, now, okay, just quick question. Has everybody, have y'all read the book entirely the way through?
No,
Well,
Okay.
I don't want to cheat.
We don't want to do a spoiler.
Yeah. No spoilers, so I won't do a spoiler, but so you're kind of pacing and going there. So Kathy, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
Thinking about this part in the story, haven't read the book the entire way through. What's hanging in the balance for you as you read? What questions are you hoping get answered in the next pages?
Oh, you did put me on a spot.
You're a good sport.
Well, for one, I have a question. I know that she was getting ready to go over there, and I'm wanting to, did she make it over to United States? And and how her daughter is doing. Is she better? She got to see the doctor. I guess I'll just have to go ahead and read the book.
But those are really great questions. And that's the exact thing that comes up throughout the story is there's this constant pull of, are you going to make it? Are you going to get the help that you need? And it's so present and so heavy. And that's a reality of what people were facing as they were trying to leave and, you know, get out of from underneath the thumb of the government and everything that was going on. And so, you know, that theme, you did a really nice, I mean, it is the point of the story, but you did a really nice job of continuing that pressure throughout the story.
the suspense continues.
It seemed like every time she thought she was ready, something obstacle always got in her way that she had to postpone it and try again later. And to me, that was very disappointing. I know it would have been to her. In our lives, we also have things that we try to get ahead of and seem like we run into obstacles. Maybe it wasn't meant to go right then, but I felt so bad for her because she is trying so hard to get over here. She was worried about her daughter needing medical attention, and she was working so hard to get on the boat but every time she tried to take one step, she'd take 2 steps back. And
Yeah.
I found that very hard.
Mhm.
I was glad that she didn't, when she took those 2 steps back, that it wasn't more severe. I was really
Yeah.
glad about that she didn't get hurt or, killed or,
Right.
maimed or anything like that.
Mm.
So thank you for that, Amy, because I don't know if my heart could have taken that part.
She's the heroine. We can't have her dead in the story.
No,
But yeah.
but even if she was shot at and was injured,
Right.
and then it would have taken years for her to recover enough to be able to escape. Thank you for not putting us through that.
You're very welcome.
Luckily, it was always just kind of a slap on a hand and she slithered her way out of it. You know what I mean?
Well, I do have some pictures to show you guys tonight, and some of it might be a little bit of a spoiler alert, especially for Kathy, who's doing her best not to cheat and move on to future chapters. But let me go ahead and share my screen. I'll explain to you what we're looking at. Minimize that, and beautiful pictures of Dan and Jenny. Okay, we're gonna go into this one. So in the upper left, you're going to see a veneration table in Vietnam, and that is a picture of my grandfather and grandmother. So my mom, Snow's mom and dad, and that's a typical veneration table where you have incense and you have food and that kind of stuff to honor your ancestors. Down below on the left is a family reunion. It starts with my mom's niece, and then it goes with my mom, Kelly, which is Tree's wife, sister 6, and then Tree. And we're all sitting around the table reminiscing and rehashing some things with a bunch of fruits there from the market. In the middle is so this is kind of a funny story. When you go to Vietnam, people carry so many things on their scooters and vespas, whatever. Those are 2 goats right there that are going to the market.
Oh my God.
You see livestock all the time. You even see people carrying flammables, and they're smoking a cigarette on their motorcycle. And I just cringe. But we played this game, Preston, Joe, and I, where we would try to find pictures or people with the most ridiculous things on their scooters, and how high can they pack it, and I got some crazy photos, which I couldn't find, but I found this one, so I thought that was something to share. Upper right-hand corner is this little girl that on one of my trips to Vietnam, I wanted to take her back to the States with me so badly. She was the cutest thing. Super cute. And her parents were like, take her. We want you to take her. And I was like, it's a lot more complicated than that. So, but yeah, I looked at Preston, I was like, I wouldn't mind having a little girl too, so she's really cute and dear to me. And then down below, I just thought that was cute to add a little gecko, because that was what Sister 6 should have been catching in one of those chapters where she was given a bucket and everywhere. So upper left corner is Michael Harmon. He is my honorary dad. He served in the Vietnam War, and he is who Sam is inspired by or characterized by. And down below is his first trip back to Vietnam, and I took him with me because he had never been back, and he had such a good time. And we had been drinking in 100-degree weather all day, all night, and we were all a little bit drunk. So he was showing us bananas. And you can see in Vietnam, the bananas are teeny tiny. So when you think of the bicycle guy, the peddler, the doctor, he's peddling bananas. Those are the tiny bananas he's peddling.
I thought they were bigger than that.
There are some a little bit bigger, but typically they're that small in Vietnam. Yeah.
Wow.
In the center on the top is my husband buying some fruits from this lady. She has a really sad story, but she was going up and down the beach selling her fruits and stuff like that. And we ended up buying most of what she had. And then we invited her to sit down in the cool tent area with us and just, relax, because she didn't have to go up and down the whole day because she had sold most of her stuff to us. And then down below is my mother-in-law and Michael Harmon, my honorary dad, and my husband, the three of us, again, just enjoying life in Vietnam at Rory's, which is a beach cafe in Phu Quoc Island down south in Vietnam. Upper right is Mike Harmon attending or going to the Vietnam War Memorial, the museum, and checking out all the stuff that's there. It was pretty interesting museum in the sense that there was a lot of history and a lot of leftover tanks and cars and all sorts of things that were there. And there was also some sad pictures too that we ended up crying quite a bit when we were at that museum. Down below is just my husband. He's playing around on the scooter. And that girl on the right is someone we just randomly met and we became good friends. She was a college student, and she invited us back to her family's house. And we spent the full day with them, just fishing and eating and playing around on the scooters. So that was a lot of fun. And then Preston's gonna kill me, but in that center photo, that's Preston when he was 3 years old, and it was his first trip back to Vietnam, and he thought it was so hilarious that that's how he had to take a bath and a shower within that bucket of water. And then of course in the lower right hand corner was him on one of our other trips, and he was, I think, 8 years old in that photo, so a little bit older. And you see the banana in the upper right hand corner. I was just like, oh my God, these are so tiny and so cute. In the upper left is a art, not a gallery, but it's a workshop basically. And all the art that is sold there funded programs to help families who were affected by Agent Orange. And you'll see that all these workers are actually workers of, they came from families who had kids or, family members that were affected by that chemical. And we ended up not buying anything because we couldn't have any place to take it with us, but you could donate money too, and that's what we did. And then down below, I thought you guys would be interested in this. This is an outhouse, a typical outhouse in the country, where you can see a roll of toilet paper there, which is actually pretty cool because they usually don't have toilet paper there. But you go out there, you sit you straddle between two slats of wood, and you do your business. And down below, there's a pond you see there, and that's how the country folks did it. That is an outhouse, and that was actually an outhouse in my uncle's backyard. They do have Western toilets now, but that's what they used back in the day. So, and that's I'll stop sharing there. Do they have any questions, comments?
Well, thank you, Amy, for showing that.
Yeah, my pleasure. So you can see that we did make it out of the country, and then we ended up coming back to our country.
Yes.
Amy, did your mom ever go back to visit?
She went back several times. She went back actually before I did. I was in college when she first went back, and she went with my stepdad. And so, I was jealous that she got to go, but of course I was dealing with college. And then my first trip back, I was working at Microsoft at the time, and there was supposed to be this family reunion. And so I talked to my boss, and I was like, and this was for a month that I was in Vietnam for my very first trip. So it was a big commitment to be gone from work, but we made it happen. And that was like the most humbling experience ever, to go back there. Like I said, I took pictures of everything, and I didn't want to show you a picture of the toilet that I took, but I thought there's an in-ground toilet, woohoo. No outhouse.
Amy, how are you received back to communist Vietnam, having fled?
Yeah. So going through customs and security, that's the hardest part. because they will detain you. They will wait until you bribe them with money that you stick into your passport. They'll delay your visa. And I learned this the first time I went back there. I had my visa waiting for me on the other side in the country, and they delayed me and delayed me and delayed me. Whereas the second time that I went back, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have my visa in hand. It's gonna be mailed to me in the States, and then I'll take it back with me. But they know that you're coming back, and so they'll do anything they can. But once you're in country, it's just they're so happy to have you because you're a tourist, and they think you have money. So you usually come home, you give your family money, you give the neighbors money. You know, everybody just is a big celebration. There's food, and they love to show off, how far they've progressed since the war. It's just the Vietnamese people I found are just so humble and so giving. They love to share stories and laugh, and they don't think about the bad stuff. They really want to focus on the happy times. And I've gone back 4 times, Larry, and each time I go back, I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm not going to go back again. But then I find myself yearning and missing the country, even though I left when I was so young. But it's my heritage, it's my roots, and without my mom anymore, and without my dad really being so as present as I'd like him to be in my life, I feel like I've got to do something to somehow maintain my roots. So I would love to go back again.
Well, I'm saving up my PTO, so
Okay.
group trip.
Okay.
I'm ready. I
Yeah.
already told my kids quit having babies so I can go somewhere else on vacation. So we're good.
Well, then your grandbabies will be having babies.
No, we're going before that happens.
All right. Anything else? We're coming up, or we are at our hour already. So until then, we'll see you guys next Sunday, hopefully.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's
Stacey's
nice to see
Yeah.
you.
moderating, and I think Stacy is moderating for us next Sunday. So, and we know Stacy's got great questions too. So be prepared. All right.
Great discussion
Seeing you
tonight.
all. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.
You
Bye.
too.
Okay, get well.
Bye-bye
Thank
till
you,
next
Amy.
week.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you. Bye, Dee.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.